What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Aether Hour. This time we are joined by Daniel, who has not been with us yet, and Justin, who has come on with us once before. They are both writers on the team. So now that we've been out for a couple weeks, this is your guys' opportunity to ask them some deep cutting writing questions. We do have some questions geared up from the community from earlier as well that we're going to be asking them, but we're going to just kind of hang out and like talk story stuff. Yeah, so anyone that is on with us live, feel free to just message in the chat and we'll try to get to your questions. Yeah, first off, I want to ask you guys, because I haven't talked to you guys too much since launch. How you feeling since launch?
Fantastic, honestly.
Yeah.
This has been so much fun to watch streamers and YouTubers play the game, to see reviews come in on different platforms. It's been really exciting because this is always going to be at least a little bit of a niche game. You know,
Hmm.
we're targeting a pretty specific audience with this game, and my only hope for the game was that the people it's meant for enjoy it.
Hmm.
And if everybody else did too, that's just a bonus. That's great. And it seems like pretty much everyone who's given it a shot is finding something to enjoy in it. So I'm really really pleased about that.
Yeah, for sure. How you feeling, Daniel?
Pretty much what Justin said, honestly. I mean, this game mixes a couple of my favorite genres, which is sort of hard-boiled fiction and like pulp adventure. Kind of ride the line between the two. So the language is more like hard-boiled noirish, and the plot is more pulpy. And I just kind of dig it. And I knew if the right people saw it, if our audience saw it, that they would like it too. And I think we ended up with a game we can be proud of.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah. And Daniel, I haven't gotten too much of a chance to talk to you just in general since I've worked on this project. Around when did you hop on the project? Like what state was it at?
I started last June,
Okay.
so by the time I popped up, all of the missions had already been roughed out.
Mm,
So my job was to rewrite things like blocking scripts and like round out dialogue. So
gotcha.
mostly I was working on dialogue. I didn't have too much of a hand in like character design and stuff. Although I feel like I injected some life into Benny because at that point, Benny hadn't really been written yet into missions.
Gotcha.
And then I got to design some like root cellar conversations and checkpoints and small things like that. I'll have a bigger hand hopefully in what comes next.
Nice, nice. Do you kind of have a standout mission that you were excited to be a part of? One that you were particularly
Hmm.
had a good time writing?
I I was pretty proud of the work I did in the Central Park mission. Um,
Nice.
Tyler told me that he found it genuinely moving, which was nice to hear.
That's amazing.
I I really tried hard to that one. I think I drafted more than any other one because it required a lot of cuts and then a lot of beefing up in different parts. But I was pretty pleased with how it turned out. I think the most complicated one was probably Luca's the recruit Luca mission.
Hmm. Interesting.
Uh, but my favorite dialogue was probably the party yacht mission.
Okay. Okay. I got to color the party yacht background, so I have a bit of an attachment to that one as well. Nice.
Yeah, I
And
really
quite
enjoyed
the
that
job.
mission.
And quite the
Um,
job you did, Nick.
Oh, thank you.
yeah, it's beautiful work. I liked getting to write Klossner, the architect. He was a fun little character.
Nice. And I should mention for everyone too, we are possibly going to go a little bit spoilery. I think if we do say something that's going to be a spoiler, we should just preface spoilers. But we're going to try to keep it light because we know people are still playing it. If anyone also is in the chat that hasn't been to one of these live yet, let us know about how far into the game you are. We're just kind of curious, like where people are at in their campaign. So cool. All
I'm
right.
just going through some of the people that have played through it. Like, there's people with 60, 70 plus hours on Aether and
Ooh.
Iron. I'm just like, wow.
That's got to be multiple
What?
playthroughs, right?
That is multiple playthroughs,
Yeah.
yes.
That's more
Or
than me. That's wild.
That's amazing. Nice. Well, I was telling these guys too that I recently played one of the Coney Island like side missions that you can access. And it felt like there was a very particular way in which you can even get access to that mission. I went in and I talked to a character that the game wasn't prompting me necessarily to talk to. And I played that thing and I was like, this is really, really interesting and different from what the rest of the game felt like. So that's always interesting to me, is like when there's that one, maybe a few standout moments in a game that just really, really stick into your mind. So, Justin, are there any moments like that for you in our game that either you had a part of or you just particularly liked? And again, maybe these will be spoilery, but something that was just like its own little story that you were really interested in.
I mean, yeah. I'm just trying to narrow it down, because part of what was so fun about this project was that there's the world building that Tyler did to bring this version of New York to life was expansive enough that just diving into any one little corner of it, any one character's backstory, or the history of a certain barony or whatever, opened up all kinds of cool possibilities. So I think some really standout stuff for me is oh man, I love the crest stuff, especially the Undercity library scene.
Oh yeah,
That's
that was
a
cool.
great scene. I think that's Domini. Our writer Domini was the forerunner on that one.
You guys went nuts with all the books that you could
I got to
peel
write the
through.
books. And,
You did?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That was one of the first things I did when I joined the company, and that was a lot of fun.
I actually want to shout out our voice actress for Gia, who read the narration when you read those books out loud, because that text was dense and long, and she got almost all of them first take.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
She's
was
incredible.
Because I was profusely apologizing before she got into it, and she just read straight through. It was the text is great, but it's like it's designed to be read because it's a book. It's not designed to necessarily be read out loud, and so it was a pretty cool experience watching her go for it.
Yeah, for some reason I got tasked with a lot of writing those things. I also wrote the files in Mr. Blank's the glass cage later on. I don't want to go too spoilery, but there's a lot.
Nice. I feel like those are the types of things though that like really, really solidify a world as feeling real when you have those like ancillary things that you can that you can read that just make it feel like someone else wrote the thing, not the writers were writing dialogue or whatever, which may seem kind of obvious, but I do appreciate those kinds of things. It reminds me, one of my favorite games is the first Nier, and towards the end of Nier, there's a bunch of these documents that you can read that kind of like open up what the world is, and that's something that really stood out to me, even though it's just like little piece of paper that you're reading at the end of the game. So
I mean, that's one of the things that I definitely was a collector of. All of them is the Skyrim books. All the Skyrim books.
For me, the one that stands out in my mind as the example of that is Resident Evil. In the original Resident Evil, I think the character's name is Emma or Alice or something, but the little girl, and reading her diary and the way that her voice changes as the diary goes on, you learn what happened to her, and then eventually you meet her later on, and it's like, that's crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The best codex entry I've ever picked up in a game will always be Itchy Tasty.
Exactly.
Wait, which one?
Go.
So in the original Resident Evil, one of you find like the garden, I believe the Garden Keeper's book.
This is spoilers.
Yeah.
This is spoiler territory.
And it's early on in the game, and it basically it's very similar to the Alice one. It like chronicles the events unfolding. And it gets like the degradation in the writing as he like becomes a zombie is really, really good. Where he's like hair's falling out, scalp is a little itchy, and like it just keeps escalating and escalating until the final page in the book is just itchy, period, tasty, period, and that's where it ends. And I love it.
That's awesome.
That has been like I've encountered that when I was 8. Like 8 or 9, whenever like the first game came out on the PlayStation 1, and it has stuck with me ever since.
Yep. That's awesome. So a bunch of the questions that came in from the community were kind of like overarching world stuff. So stuff kind of like outside of New York City, which you guys
can do with the questions in chat first.
Yeah. We can do that. Let's do that.
Yeah, I can jump in with a couple of those. Alex says, with more of a narrative design question, did you all have a particular bark that you enjoyed writing or hearing it voiced? We got to meet one of our voice actors, Daniel, a few weeks ago, who did some of those. We have them even, I think, as soundboard things here, like this.
Applesauce.
Oh, we double played that. Yeah, applesauce. And then we have
crackers.
We have stuff like that.
Joking.
You stole my thunder, because that's what I was going to call out as my favorite voiced bits. So because I'm showing my age again. The direction was do Jerky Boys, and if anybody's ever heard of Jerky Boys, that's right where it came from. It was like or Panicked Woody Allen, and that was where that voice came from, and he nailed it.
That's awesome.
We need to expand our soundboard, and
that's incredible. I didn't know that existed. Wow.
Yeah, we have a couple of those.
My favorite bark is one that didn't make it in, which was
really?
my idea. So the cheese and crackers bystanders ones. Mm-hmm. I wanted it to so like every 64th time this bystanders did a bark, one of them said in like a deep voice, "I'm become death. The day of reckoning is ahead."
I don't know why we got that.
Yeah, it's weird.
I get it.
Hey, it's on the shelf somewhere.
Yeah,
we did record it.
And now it at least
it's recorded
here.
Yeah, we got it. So it's sitting around.
Well, maybe something will happen at some point. You never know.
It's going to be a fun DLC.
That is the DLC. Just that.
Just those lines.
Yeah, you're muted, Cody.
Well, he's shaking his head. I can assume what he's saying.
I was going to say, I'm looking forward to writing those patch notes. Just a single line. Added, new combat line. Good luck. Go find it.
Yeah. Nice. Let's see. I think there were some more. Alex had a silly question. In Act 2, there's a mention of how important family is. With the fact that there's so much going on with our cars, were there any jokes about Fast and the Furious flying around the writing room?
Yes.
Always. Always. Family is the most important theme in our stuff.
I believe the actual line, I can't remember who said it. It might have been me. That's how long ago it was well, how can he be talking about family when clearly the concept of family was invented in 2001 or whenever it was?
That's right. That's right.
Nice.
If we had a more robust opportunity to get like racing mechanics in there, you can bet there would have been so many references, so many, you know.
I mean, we had a character named Dom right there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was on our minds. Yeah.
Then we have another question, and I'm sorry, I have OBS running, so your names are truncated a bit in chat for me. But in general, let's see, are you in general content with the narrative or story, or did you find some stuff being written bad or something that you would change, but it was too late or too deep in development to make those changes?
Short answer is yes, but with the asterisk next to it. I don't think we let anything bad slip through. I hope, knock on wood, and that's for the audience to judge, not for us to judge. But there are things that we're still negotiating to change that may and will end up in updates and patches that because when you're making a game and it becomes terminal velocity, you're pushing the boulder up the mountain, and then suddenly you're on the other side of that peak, and everything's moving so fast. And the cliche phrase, you're laying the train tracks while the train is moving. And our train was a bullet train, and we were trying to lay the track as it went. So we definitely have entire systems and entire portions of acts that maybe needed a little bit more attention. That we're definitely proud of what we did, and we managed to make the game we wanted. But there are a couple of points where we know we need to go back in and kind of give it a little bit of spit and shine to really give it that cohesion.
I think part of it is the nature of writing in video games, which is just that this is a collaborative medium. We're working with experts in all kinds of different disciplines, and even in a game like this that's quite narrative heavy, we still have to make tons of compromises to make sure that other people's work can shine as much as possible. So that means that sometimes the way we wanted to execute the story or the way that we ideally would have portrayed something might not have been possible due to other factors where we were working around constraints due to budget, or where it wouldn't make sense because of a gameplay mechanic we've introduced that just logically would conflict with something we were trying to express. So there's lots of little ways in which writing an interactive story is a lot more complicated than writing, a novel or something that's just quite linear, and you get to make every decision about how everything is portrayed. It's we're all working together, and that means sometimes some things got to give here and there, but that's okay. I agree with you, Dwayne. I'm proud of what we came up with in the end.
Yeah, and as a writer, and I imagine as an artist or other creative too, the further you go in your career, the less you kind of look back at and kind of spend time regretting things you did or didn't do.
Absolutely.
You just kind of have to move forward and take the lessons with you that you garner along the way. Also, I mean, this was a first effort from a new studio with a new team, and I think given all those factors, we actually ended up with a product we can be proud of. After a while, you just kind of have to sit back and let your work talk for you.
Yeah, it's very easy, and I think most creatives are like this. All you see is the flaws. All you see is I could have done this better. I wish I'd done this better. But you kind of have to get out of that headspace a little bit, because it points you in a direction of wanting to do better every time, and therefore you do better every time. But you can spiral into negativity if you're not careful. So you have to keep that balance in your head of being proud of what you've done, but learning the lessons of what could have been done better and applying those lessons next time. That's just how you improve.
And the thing to remember too is the players don't know what you had in your head either. They only know what they're playing. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. So thankfully, the players have been telling us they're liking what they're playing. So we can at least look at that.
That is good. That is good.
We have quite a few instances from Cognitive in the chat that I don't at all want to ignore, but I do want to read, and I can't right now. So that's just to say that we do these every week, and I certainly want to go through these and chat with our narrative team and make sure that we get good responses to the things that you're sharing with us, because you're raising a lot of great points, and there's value in that to us. So thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, I can say just from skimming, I totally agree. I'd like to address these properly given due time. But in general, I can just say that logic bumps and gaps in the logic of the story again are things that we're aware of, and things that sometimes were unavoidable for one reason or another, and just sometimes a product of the amount of time we had to deliver the product. There's a huge undertaking in making a game of any size. Um, but in this one that's so story heavy with so much storytelling and dialogue, even with a team as talented as ours, it's really difficult to pull every single thread perfectly taut and make sure that there are no inconsistencies and no gaps anywhere. There's going to be things that fall through the cracks, and we're, like I said, we're aware of them, and all we can do is hope that they're not too glaring, that it doesn't bother you too much, and that later on for whatever future projects we can improve on that and hopefully get fewer of those.
Yeah, and I can assure you, at least 3 out of those 7 points that are listed, there were extensive discussions and reasons for
Yeah,
the choices that we did make. Some of
yeah.
them are new to me. I'm like, oh, that's a really good point. But it's what we never did was we said, well, we're just going to hand wave that. Like,
Hmm.
well, it was always sometimes frustratingly so, but it just the negotiations and the back and forth on every single story point of how is this going to work? Why does this make sense? Why doesn't it make sense? And so there was a lively discussion about every every detail that occurred to us in the game among many developers, both in the writing room and in other departments as well, because you never know where the best idea is going to come from. So you want to kind of get input from everybody in the company. But yeah, I can assure you that none of those logic gaps that you have were there um, purposely, just arbitrarily. Yeah, screw it. We're not going to worry about that. There were reasons why we felt we had to go the way we went for most of those.
And to
Yeah,
be
and I will
honest,
just.
Any of those
I was
points
just going
that
to say
you
the
don't
feed.
get to in this conversation, I did move over all your stuff cognitive to the discussion threads.
Oh, cool, perfect.
Yes, thank you. And I will also just add that Cognitive said before posting all this that they've really enjoyed the game very much, but just found some parts weird, and that's what brought this up. So thank you
Well,
for
and
sharing that. Thank you for playing and enjoying our game.
that's exactly what I was going to say. Is that to me this is excellent feedback
Yeah.
because this demonstrates more than anything that you're really engaged with the story. You're so in it that you're noticing these things, and
It's
that's
resonating.
exactly that's a bigger compliment than any we could get. So
To
I'm
the
very glad
yeah,
to hear this stuff.
to their other point of feedback there, like sounds like health perfectionists if there are any in the team. I can tell you that sums up game development in a nutshell.
Yeah,
Um, it's game development is a tug between ambition and budget and time and scope and all the other kind of more down to earth aspects. And a lot of the times we try to do our best to make sure that that creative vision and that artistic drive always went out. But yeah, sometimes you gotta make not necessarily the compromises, but you have to know when to kind of button something up and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, it's especially with like as much narrative that's in our game, which it's like 420,000 words. Yeah, it is difficult to basically be juggling all of the different aspects of the narrative. It's a feat.
Yep.
Yeah, and make it work with
It's a
the
very tangled
gameplay.
and interweaving web.
Alex did say that, gosh, the archive scene was so good. Definitely up there as one of my favorites so far. The world building was wonderful. Let's see.
We do have one from Honorary Jack before Cognitive's questions that we missed. I have a lot of interest in more of the different kinds of Aether and the research Nellie was doing in, I think, the University Olympus Park. I'm sorry if I get that wrong. In the future, are you planning on going more into the sort of discovery of Aether and the danger of that kind of innovation? It reminds me of Bioshock in a way, but Aether Iron has a distinct feeling I really enjoy. Would there be additional colors with more applications, or will we get to see more of Nellie's story going forward?
Writers.
Rock, paper, scissors?
Maybe.
yeah, that's a big
totally
maybe.
Although I did mention in one of Blank's files a little snippet, or it might have been in the Undercity library, about the guy who developed Aether to start with.
Yeah, there used to be an older intro that actually showed that scene. We have art for it and everything.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what I will say is like those kinds of questions, Ornery Jack, um, we are we are taking player feedback into account for what people want, what moving forward and everything. It's not going to be the single determining factor, but it is a big part of what we're laying out as our roadmap moving forward. So if you want to see more of Nellie's story going forward, then hop in whichever Discord channel and say, hey, you know what I'd really like to see? More of Nellie or less of Nellie or whatever. But we very much these kinds of questions, if phrased as straight asks, will help us in compiling our roadmap moving forward. So don't be shy. Tell us what you want. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you didn't like.
I think you can rest assured that we will definitely be uh, interested in exploring more about the history of this world and expanding on the ideas that are in the first game for sure.
I mean, you guys have so much currently shelved ideas and research and backstory and world building, so there's quite a bit to pull from for any future endeavors.
I think every writer working on a mission managed to seed something subtly here and there. Not, you know, just little bits of dialogue that like mention a name or a region or something that we never really explain in the game, but it is all in a file somewhere.
And it's very
That's
much that
awesome.
sort of Star Wars approach of, you know, um, every alien in the cantina in Mos Eisley has a species and a homeworld and a backstory that we don't hear about. There's casual references in Aether and Iron to uh, entire like characters that have entire backstories that we've dreamt up because we thought it was fun, but yeah, there wasn't room for. Um, and the hope is that yeah, someday maybe those will see the light of day. And if they don't, that's
Yeah,
okay. It's just
I,
it gets your imagination going. That's
I
the
want to
fun
see the
part.
cheese and crackers guy get his own dedicated sequel.
Me too.
His own quest.
It's what happens after you wreck his vehicle and his transmission goes out.
He becomes the main character. He's out to get Gia.
Well, then we have to put that voice line in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Calico Gray has some good questions. So, was Benny conceived as an NPC like Nelly, then made a hero later? It was pretty funny having a 13-year-old in my crew blasting people, especially since the kid has a real mouth. Haha.
I mean, we always envisioned Benny as someone who would join your crew. I think it wasn't always clear whether or not he would participate in combat the same way that sort of Nelly is part of your crew, but doesn't have a vehicle and doesn't show up in combat.
I wouldn't trust Nelly to be driving a vehicle.
Well, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's kind of why we put that in there. It's like, well, why isn't Nellie driving? Well, let's just make her
I mean, I
the
remember
worst
the
driver
first
in
scene where
the
it's just
city.
like, Nelly,
Yeah,
take the wheel. Yeah, that's the
yeah,
last time you're taking the wheel.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I have I'll let you talk about this, Daniel, because you sort of dove in with Benny. But I always imagined him in that sort of intro to Indiana Jones driving around this big 1930s car with a block under his foot.
Yeah,
Um,
very short round.
very
Sure.
short round. Yeah.
Yeah. Benny was a trip. I'm not sure. So I wasn't part of his initial design, but I got to write a lot of his dialogue, and because of that, I was reading up a lot on like the Newsies and like child labor laws and things like that back then, which were basically non-existent. So you know, him being interested in things like cigars or girly magazines is very much like a product that era where kids are aspiring to be treated like adults at as young an age as possible.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
that. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say he's just kind of a little stinker, but also he's quite intelligent and curious. I mean, he has to have pretty intelligent foundation to be able to write at his age for a periodical. So
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the 1930s thing of like, obviously, we're in an alternate history. There's a lot of fantastical elements, but kids back then weren't coddled. They were raised part way and then thrown out into the world and put to work. And there's a lot of independence and a lot of, you see, let's call it lack of adult supervision. And Benny specifically, like, people like that existed and were doing things, and it was just, it's another reflection of, it was a different time. The morals were different, the values were different, the world was different, and we decided to just sort of acknowledge that with this kid, and we did, and it was just, he's just a cool little character, and having him be mentored by the others was more of a mechanical function of number of skill trees versus number of heroes, and it just seemed like a cool thing to be able to have. I don't know if it's a spoiler, but to have the player be able to choose his path.
Another very minor spoiler, but this is just kind of a giveaway. The one thing that was fun is because of the mentor mechanic, we got to unlock different dialogue options in things like root cellar conversations. So if you picked a mentor for Benny and decided to go back and retry the game, pick a different mentor. I think you'll be surprised to see a couple of things will change.
That's cool. Another question from Calico Gray is, was the Underground trying to incite a rebellion in, I think, New York before Gia showed up? I did the dance party and then immediately after got put into the war sequence, which caught me a bit off guard.
Yeah, that would be Nation's Crusade.
Yeah, I will refer you back to the previous question about things we wish we could work on more. That is literally the prime example of that sequence. The short answer is yes, they were inciting a rebellion, but it would be really good to go back and flesh that out a little bit and give it a more logical cadence of events that lead up to it.
Yep, there's time and budget. There's only so many things we can portray, and that's a great example of something that we would have gotten a lot more expansive portrayal in the game if we were able to. So we just had to suggest what was happening around the borders of what you were seeing in the screen.
Yeah, I think the third act is probably the most truncated in terms of like what we had outlines for and drafts for and what actually made it to the final cut.
Calico.
It was like, hey writers, what are you? Oh, sorry. It was like, hey writers, what are you doing next week? Finishing Nation's Crusade? Hey, thanks, bye.
I mean, I wasn't gonna go that behind the scenes, but yeah, that's pretty accurate, actually.
Calico Gray also said, by the way, one detail I like, the voice actor for, or I guess it's a voice actress for Benny, pronounces his last name Castellano as a Spanish speaker would, whereas the voice actor for Gia says it as an Italian speaker would. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, we were cognizant of that. There were certain mispronunciations that we let slide because it would fit with the character, and that was actually one of them. And the actress took upon herself to pronounce Benny's last name that way, and we was like, perfect, because that's where he's, it's how he would say it, and how Gia would say it would be the different way. So yeah, thank you for noticing that, because it's those little details that make some of us happy.
I really appreciate those little details that we were able to achieve with the voice acting.
All credit to you, Dwayne. Well, apart from our amazing cast, serving as our de facto voice director in addition to all your other duties.
The hundreds of hours that he spent directing voice acting.
Yeah, it's a big task, and to be able to execute on those little things is pretty impressive.
Yeah. It was one of my two favorite parts of the job is jamming with the writers, brainstorming, and then also the voice directing. Those are two, because you're there when the idea is born, and then you're there when it's executed, and you see it come to life. So it's a kind of full circle moment. It's really great.
That's awesome.
He didn't mention number 3, which was slashing our drafts with our razor blade.
Yeah.
But that makes you a good editor, Dwayne.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What was usually the critique on a first draft?
Shorter, more
Too long.
Yeah,
Too
too
long.
long.
Cut it down.
Weirdly, it's easier to write too much than it is to write
Yeah.
less. It is a calling process as you write and rewrite. You go through, and so it's the same thing with movies. So like the first cut of a movie that they always show to the studio or test audience is like 4 hours long, and you hear
Mhm.
the stuff on the news, and then it ends up being a 90-minute movie by the time they've
So Dwayne,
trimmed.
you're telling me that you're the one reason why we don't have a 60-hour game?
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
missing
no, that was
30
you.
hours?
That was you. I overscoped this thing at the start. I don't know.
Uh,
Again, how much to give away too much, but like I have a long history of overscoping projects, whether they're movies or games. It's just my MO, and I've learned that that's just what happens, and I apologize to everybody.
You gotta hire somebody to further do scoping.
Well,
Another,
that's what I'm here
yeah, yeah, that's why we have producers.
Go
I
ahead,
was
Jeannie.
gonna move on to another question from the community. This one was in our lore channel. But how did the Aetheniers become an oppressed minority? You would think that the group of people that keep the giant city flying would be one of the more powerful factions, because if they stop working, everyone dies. That's a huge sword of Damocles to
It's
hold.
unrealized power and control.
You'd think
Yep.
so, but maybe watch Fritz Lang's Metropolis and then get back to us.
Yeah, there are quite a few parallels you could draw to any number of groups in history that sort of fulfill the same societal role. Yeah,
Yeah, not to
they're
get too political, but it's kind of like, wait a second, means of production.
Yeah, the themes that we did choose to tackle are more universal or timeless, I guess, and
Mhm.
that theme is one of them. And it just kind of doesn't always work out that the people who are, you know, who actually have the leverage actually use the leverage. It's this weird dynamic that's repeated all throughout history. And that was one theme that we were comfortable with incorporating.
Right, and more specific to the era, I mean, like the tale of unionization and union control and such is really historically significant. So that's one of the many inspirations we took from real world.
and you had your fingers all over that pie with Luca. This is kind of fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were trying not to make it overtly like political, but instead like tell a story about like his point of view.
Mhm.
So, who tell us about some of the inspirations of Luca and the rabbit holes that you fell down, the films, the books, the inspirations that brought him to us.
It's got to be some on the waterfront in there, yeah? A little bit?
100%. Although I wasn't around for the character design, and that's really
Sure.
a question that's maybe better for Tyler, who I believe
Yeah,
designed the
sure.
character. But
Yeah,
from
I
what
mean,
I gathered, oh, sorry, go ahead, Dwayne.
no, you go ahead. I've been talking too much, so you go for it.
Okay. Well, as you said, like on the waterfront, but when kind of trying to capture his voice, I read up a bit on, like I said, like the growth, like the rise of the unions in the late 19th and early 20th century, and yeah, and my dad was a union man at one point too, so I took some inspiration from that.
Nice. I think it's always interesting to add, your personal lived life into storytelling. It just makes it feel more real. So, yeah, because you can always read stories about someone else's life, but if you've actually lived it yourself, you can talk about it much more or have more of a touchstone to it. Man, you guys are popping off comments. I'm trying to keep up.
Yeah, this is hard.
Elite Koala just put in the last one. I think it's a great question for anyone on the writing team. I have aspirations to become a narrative designer in the video game industry, and I'll be starting university at the end of this year to study English literature. As writers and narrative designers, how do you get started in the industry, and do you have any advice?
Oh, Justin, you want to start at this one?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough industry, both to break into and to stay into. But if you want into it, then that's the first hurdle. Really, is the passion for it. So clearly, that's there. I also studied English Lit at university. Um, I don't know how instrumental that was in advancing my career, to be honest. But it certainly gave me a foundation of storytelling, which I think is really important. Um, and in terms of where I started, I started not writing, even though that was my background. I started in an entry level role in QA at Ubisoft Toronto, and then from there, I was exposed to narrative designers and writers who were kind enough to mentor me, and I was working on my own stuff on the side. And through that, I eventually got to a place where I was more qualified to do actual writing in games. But
Was your own stuff like writing novels, or was it on other small projects? Are you able to talk about it?
mostly just personal stuff. So, whether that was like fiction writing or for a long time, I volunteered with an online magazine here doing like film reviews and writing about video games and stuff, just sort of like critical analysis essays. And yeah, all of that stuff really just, um, I think the most valuable part of that experience was being exposed to all the different facets of game design and game development and what goes into it, and learning what I was drawn to naturally and learning what I was good at, learning what I maybe wasn't so good at, and leaning into those things. I I think in terms of how to get started, what I would say is you're doing the right thing already if you are playing a lot of games and reading a lot of books and writing a lot of stuff just for your own fun. The more, as you were saying, Nick, the more stuff you go out and do in life, the more richly that will inform the stuff you create. And then uh, I would say don't be afraid to branch out from specifically what you want to do, because there will always be opportunities to refine your your career path and specialize in something. But getting in the door is the hardest part. So even if you don't get in the door initially as a writer or a narrative designer, if you can get in as QA, if you can get in programming or tech art or whatever it is you might, whatever other skill you might also want to develop, um, getting in the door is the most important thing. And then once you've done that, you can sort of mold your career after that. That's what I would say.
There's an anecdote related to that that's it only tangentially involves me, but at Blizzard, my brother-in-law, I got him a job as a tester, and he was testing, and then at one point I think it was on Warcraft 2, they said we need a bunch of maps for the map editors, so we're going to do a contest in QA, and we're going to get our three best people who make the three best maps, and we're going to bring them over just to kick out a bunch of maps for release. And they did. And at the end of that cycle, two of the testers went back to testing. And I told my brother-in-law, I'm like, just keep coming to this building. Just stay at the same desk and don't go back to testing. And he ended up being the lead level designer
Wow.
simply by going back to the same desk and just not acknowledging that he was supposed to go back to testing. So, that was a long time ago. The world was different, but but don't be afraid to be a little bit clever and just put your best foot forward. And he got to stay because he did good work. But it was if he had gone back to testing, he would have just kept on testing.
I don't want to get into my story because it's kind of long, but I started in tabletop and kind of transitioned to video games later. I've been working in games professionally though for I think this will be 17 years this year,
Wow.
something like that. But like Justin, I started in QA and kind of did entry level stuff, and then I formed relationships. So this is the advice I would give you. Two big pieces if you want to break in, and you have to have the goods as well. So let's not forget that part. First, I would form relationships with people who are also interested in helping you along your trajectory, and I don't mean like schmoozing or lying or or anything underhanded. But people are more likely to want to work with you on a project if you're someone they want to work with. You deliver the goods and you're, personable and easy to get along with, and you listen to ideas and you fire back ideas. About the worst thing you can do, and what a lot of people do when they kind of reach an apex in their career, is they stop listening to other ideas around them because they, treasure their own thoughts so much. But keep an open mind, listen, form relationships. And then the second thing is, there are a lot of people who are looking to break into game design and making games and stuff. So as soon as you feel comfortable, I would just start making things. Make things, put them on itch.io, meet people. If you don't have any talent for art, make friends with artists, make friends with devs, learn to code. Whatever you can do to improve your skills and gather people to you who have the skills. If you could even make something like a demo level of something, if you have like a white hot idea for a demo level, and put it out there just so people can see it. Because there are a lot of people with a lot of good ideas out there, but you ultimately get hired on how well you execute.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a text game and just with branches and stuff, and just put it up there and get a website, get a portfolio. That's the thing with writers and artists. It's easier to artists are the easiest is if you're a hiring manager, you can just look at their art and say, okay, this person can draw or this person can model 3D, so we want to talk to them. But writing, it's similar, it's a little bit more involved, but so you know within a few paragraphs whether the person's got that secret sauce or not, and you want to talk to them. So get your stuff out there and
Get widespread writing samples on your portfolio. Have a script, a short story, a description, character study, whatever.
Yeah. My advice is someone who's done a lot of narrative hiring over the years. The more comfortable you are, or you can show that you can not only write but implement as well too, especially if you're really interested in narrative design. This applies a little bit more to them than it does to writing, but I think it does apply to writing. But the more comfort you can show in some form of narrative tool and your capability to not only create but implement goes a really long way to separating you out from those who can't. And generally, most employers will look at people who can bring more to the table. And if I can hire someone who can do both, that is better in a lot of ways than someone who can only do one of those things. So get comfortable in tool sets like Twine, or you can go like really old school if you're interested in like branching narratives, and like download Neverwinter Nights for like $5 and make a branching narrative using the Neverwinter Nights tool set. It's really good at that. In fact, BioWare still uses it as their writing test, is a Neverwinter Nights game. You get like a weekend to go create a mod in Neverwinter Nights, and they come back and they review what you did. So do stuff like that. It's really good to kind of separate things out. And if you're really interested in narrative design, writing is an aspect of that, especially on the smaller studios. But when you get to the bigger studios, you don't do as much writing, and you are doing a little bit more design and a little bit more implementation. So get comfortable in like how you can, explain your design process for how you want to integrate story into a game and what that looks like. Or do like cinematics design, and sometimes can be an aspect of narrative design, especially on the more technical side. Start like branching into tool sets or examples of like real world application, even if they're in old projects or old games. It goes a really long way just to show that you have an aptitude for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, learning how to do something like blueprinting in Unreal is really helpful. It at least shows that you're willing and able to figure out how to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And as a personal, might be my personal bias, but don't necessarily just fill your page with fan fiction. Try to come up with something original, something that's your voice. Because I like to see imagination and creativity and that spark of originality. And if it's just some shipping story, then I'm gonna shut down and not necessarily read it.
Right. One thing a narrative designer might have to do is contribute to character design. So if you can make your own stuff, it's a big plus.
Mm-hmm.
Show the process. That's really important. Like go on your portfolio show like where you started and where you ended and like kind of how you got from point A to point Z or Z. Sorry, my Canadian showed up there. If the more you can show that process and that workflow and like your thought process, especially from like a narrative design point of view, like a narrative design leader, a narrative design hiring manager is really going to gravitate towards that because it shows them the type of person you are to work with, and that can go a really long way as well too.
And I'll say on the front of developing your voice and making sure that, as Dan was saying, you've got the stuff. That's a whole journey in and of itself, right? The thing that I've found the most useful in my growth in that regard, and this is ongoing, obviously, I will be growing in this until the day I die. But the thing I found the most helpful is really drilling down on understanding both the media that I consume and my reactions to that stuff. So, what is it about this thing that this TV show, this game, this book, this web comic, whatever it is, what is it that I really like about it, and why do I like it so much? What is it about this other thing that's not working for me, and why isn't it working for me? And how much of that is my own taste versus something that I think could have been done differently in executing on this material? And really just drill down into why you like the things you like and why you don't like the things you don't like. And that will really help sort of develop a personal sense of taste and style that will inevitably come out in your writing, in your voice as a writer.
Oh, yeah, here's one more general piece of advice for anyone who wants to write or listen to editors.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
You will not win a fight with an editor unless you can change their mind somehow. And well, sometimes you got to stand up for something that you make, and you are like, well, this line is really important to me. Sometimes they'll bend.
Grow
An editor
thick,
is essential.
grow thick skin, and don't be too precious. This goes for art. This goes for narrative. This goes for any collaborative creative endeavor.
Yep.
Grow a real thick skin, and don't be so precious with your stuff that you like. Fight for your ideas, but know when to pick your battles, and remember that's a collaboration. You're all on the same team. And if you're constantly the combative, argumentative one, and you're precious, so your ideas are always the best, it doesn't matter how good of a writer you are, it's gonna really handicap you moving forward. So learn to collaborate healthily and build upon. It's always yes and. Don't say no but, say yes and when you're in a collaboration with other people.
The phrase you'll want to seize upon is kill your darlings.
Yeah.
Be willing to kill your darlings.
Big time.
Or your babies. Yeah.
Or your babies. This is a little grim.
Yeah, darlings is a little more palatable, but still macabre.
I think the other thing too in Koala's case is I wouldn't expect your university to teach you everything you need to know to do what needs to be done for this industry. So like these guys were saying, there's all these tools and different things that you can do kind of in your own time. There's literally nothing stopping you from this summer diving into some of this stuff on your own and kind of treating it like work before you even go to school. It'd be really cool to show up to school with something you've already done. That way you kind of have a leg up, and then you can use school as like a place to facilitate what you're already learning on your own time, as opposed to kind of expecting it to teach you all of this stuff. So
Yep.
Yeah, it's a savage, backward industry in some parts, and it's tough to break into. But the good news for you is that it's never been easier to acquire the tools to get into it.
yeah.
Yep.
Almost anyone can make something as long as they've got an internet connection. So
Yeah.
go to it, get to work.
For sure. I see you guys are talking about Arcweave. And Koala says, wow, thank you so much for the detailed responses. I really appreciate it. That's been super helpful to me and has given me a lot to think about. No problem. Yeah, Cody, what are you guys saying about Arcweave? Because that was something that we were kind of
I think
briefly
it
looking
was
into.
Alex mentioned that Arcweave is a good interactive story system as well and very simple to use. And all I mentioned was just that, yeah, systems like Arcweave or Artisy are kind of designed to be plugins to a game engine like Unity or Unreal or something else, like Godot, I imagine. So just be aware that, like, if you want to move and make an example with those, which I think would be really, really cool to have on a portfolio piece, there's just some setup and some implementation gotchas you should be aware of versus using a system with a built-in narrative pipeline that you can just kind of jump in and start running with right away. But a very good, like, modern system if you're willing to spend the time to get it up and running.
Oh, I have one more thing to say.
Go for it.
That's okay.
Of course.
It's kind of been drawn out, but one thing that's important is there's no one true path. We can give you lots of tips and things that work for us, and but, like, for instance, like, the most successful board game designer I know got his start, like, painting minis for a catalog, and it somehow morphed over time into, like, being one of the preeminent board game designers who's in the business now. And the guy I know who's the most, like, successful, like, video game designer started out doing fan sites for the Star Wars RPG and just transition. So you can never really predict or have, like, a golden path that will get you exactly where you need to go. Just keep your options open, develop your skills, and look for opportunities.
Yeah, speaking of convoluted paths, like The Expanse started as a video game pitch, then became a series of novels, and then became a TV show. So,
I didn't know that.
I did.
Cool. All right, we're getting close to the top of the hour. Gina, were there any of these questions that you wrote up that you wanted to ask? I think these outside community questions we can maybe save for next time because they're, like, very broad. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I was just saying, I think it's fine to save these. It's been a great chat today, and I really appreciate everyone here on the Discord jumping in and asking great questions. And there are several that we didn't get to. So those will be going into the doc, and we'll certainly try to get to them in the future.
I feel like over time we'll become we'll have an ever-increasing backlog of questions, especially if more people are joining these calls and asking them live, which is great. We definitely enjoy doing this.
Yeah, it's awesome to see everybody here.
And we'd love also to know who else you might like to see us talk to, if there are any podcasters or other game developers, or even, I think we've talked to most of the folks on our team, but if there's anyone there that you'd still love to hear from, we'd love to bring them on. A certain voice, anything like that. We'd love to hear who all you want to talk to. We do this every week.
Yeah, so thank you for everyone that has played the game and has joined us. And thank you, Daniel and Justin, for joining us today. And we will see everyone next week, same time.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Play
guys.
Aether and Iron. Leave us a review.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.